much in the way of straight line runs around here, so if you have a little bit of aero damage, it's not going to harm you all that much. Anyway, we are going to apologize to drivers watching the stream for certain elements at the start. We did have a couple of technical issues, but we hope to present the rest of the race without issue. So, David, I think it's time almost to go green this lap.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully with a single file start, these guys will get away a little bit cleaner than they did. Pace car is still out. Some guys were thinking about going down the pit lane this time. We'll see if anyone takes the opportunity for a little splash under the safety car. I think that might be Corey Ott. It's the first car to take that opportunity with Richard Hunter following him in behind.
Not sure what the fuel numbers are going to be like. However, we have seen this sort of strategy pool before, most notably by Trick Sim Sports, when they came in and got fuel. Mind you, some of these people look to be just getting some, fast repairs on their cars at the moment. So, interesting. Maybe some have gotten a bit of fuel, maybe not. Depending on whether or not they could make it. We know Trick Sim Sports are great with their strategy, so they make it work, but others may not be able to. I'll be interested to see where it ends up at the end of this race. Obviously, Ott, he's actually still in 18th place, so he's still +6 on where he started. So it's not a bad strategy to go in, get any repairs and a bit of fuel, and come back out again.
So, Reese and Brock, I feel like we should just maybe recap for people just joining us that the biggest sort of incident on that first lap was John Peasnick was involved in an incident. He hit the wall, hit Dane Warren, and that's put John Peasnick right at the back on the first lap.
Yes, yeah. So obviously with the technical issues we had there, we did not see that, but we had a pretty exciting race start here. So as well as 4 other cars going off into the wall in 2 simultaneous incidents, one after the other there. Now the field's been shuffled around a little bit, and we do still have Luis Paulo Gallen at the front here. And like you said, John Peasnick is now, where is he? Down in 17th spot, 14 places down on where he started. And just to recap, the championship right now with drop rounds is 14 points the difference between Peasnick in first and Gallon in second. So right now, Gallon, if he can keep his head together for this race, is in a great position to grab some awesome points on John Peasnick.
Yes, indeed. The championship, as we said before, has been blown wide open by that first lap. Tell you what, there's probably a lot still to come as they come into Knickerbrook chicane for the 3rd time. Hopefully next time they take it, it will be at racing speed and we'll be able to see some proper racing go on here, because this series has certainly turned it on in terms of racing all through the championship. It's what it's sort of become known for here at V8's Online. GT3 racing, obviously, has a bit of a reputation in the sim racing community for having a lot of interesting kinds of action, but this racing has been pretty clean for the most part this season, and we've seen some pretty exciting stuff happen, Brock.
Yeah, that's for sure. And these guys, they play for keeps out there on the track, and we know guys like Luis Paulo Gallen, they will fight to their last breath to keep the position that they're in, whether that's first or 10th or last. They will fight for it, and that's what we love about it. And for the most part, we do see great clean racing here. I know we've had an incident at the start of this race, but for the most part, it's great racing with great drivers who are quick and make it look awesome as well. So we've just had the safety car pull away from the field here as Gallon is holding them all up, coming through into the last corner now. He's really slowing them up at the moment.
Yeah,
he's down at 43 kilometers an hour. That's slower than the pit lane speed. They come around the last corner, Gallon's gone. He has jumped. That is a great jump from Gallon there. So he's really tried to gap the field there. In the background, we can see those Trick Sim Sports guys have all spaced out fairly nicely, and there's a big gap back there from Dan King as well, who's looking like he's under attack from Craig Edwards. He will slot back in there, Reese. Looks fairly clean for now.
Yeah, certainly does. So Luis Paulo Gallen once again leading the way here. And it looks like everyone is reasonably spaced out. Not too much overtaking going on, but I am looking at Cameron Stubber, particularly behind him, because John Peasnick is starting his charge through the field here, followed by Corey Ott. So be watching these two to see how far up they can get.
and John Peasnick just got black flagged for the lap 1 incident. Oh no, we've got another car off there! Same incident!
Oh no!
And Peasnick, he's just gone up on the hill there. Oh, it's a carbon copy.
Wow, that was James Hanna there. Goodness me. And that is one of the reasons why racing at Oulton Park, you've really got to be careful, because through that third or fourth turn, very easy to lose the car on the grass. So Peasnick with damage once again. This is not his round.
No, and like I said, he does have that black flag hanging over his head now for that lap 1 incident where he did unfortunately drill into Dane Warren, and that caused Trent Thomas to have contact as well. So, yeah, not Peasnick's night at the moment. But looking back through the field here, it looks like Gallon, he's still got that jump out ahead of the Trick Sim Sports trio of Rizzo, Winkleman and Silvassi at the moment. This is good for Rizzo's championship being up where he is, because this will help shoot him up another position over Peasnick.
Yeah, having said that, though, there goes Anthony Winkleman through on the inside of Ross Rizzo. Get the feeling they may have just decided to trade places there, just to try and get themselves up to Gallon. Perhaps Winkleman believes he is faster on race pace. So now it remains to be seen whether or not they're going to catch up to Gallon. But, you know, Gallon, David, he is a very spirited racer, but he's not without his fair share of mistakes.
Yeah, well, we've seen him set fastest laps and pull away from the pack previous rounds of this season, so he's got good pace, but we don't think of him as quite as much of a calculated, patient operator as Ross Rizzo, and they're sort of the two different opposing philosophies, the sort of the Senna and Prost of this series almost.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's demonstrated tenfold by the fact that Gallon has an enormous picture of Ayrton Senna on the bonnet of his Mercedes, so you definitely tell where he is inspired. So Gallon comes around to start lap 6. That is a 26.1 on that lap, so he's definitely got good pace. 2/10 ahead of Winkleman, 1/10 ahead of Rizzo on that last lap. But Trent Thomas and Martin Silvassi are battling as well. It looks to me like, oh no, Thomas, big slide. Oh, goodness me. Trent Thomas with a big mistake, and unfortunately, that has let Martin Silvassi back by him. But I guess you can see Thomas is hungry for positions as well.
Well, Thomas has been one of those guys, those, I guess, quiet achievers, if you will. We don't see him a lot through some of these races, but he's up there, and he does really well with his racecraft as well. So he's actually sitting 5th in the championship at the moment. He hasn't won any races or anything like that, but he's just been there or thereabouts, and that's what I love about him and his driving style. But now we can see he's embroiled in a pretty deep battle as we go on board with Trent, actually, now, to have a look at his perspective of trying to get back past Silvassi and make that move work again. So he's going to have to gather himself up a bit. Through that last section there's not much overtaking opportunity. Now, as we come into the last sector of the track, if he can get close enough for the front straight, he might be able to make a move down turn 1 and try and feed Silvassi out a little bit wide, as it doesn't look like he's just getting close enough here. He's also got to watch behind him, as he's got one of the Torque Inc cars coming up on him. That will be Ashley Lear.
Yes, indeed. So Ashley Lear with some very good pace as well. Seems to be gapping the guys behind him. So this is a proper 3-car battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. 2 Mercedes and an Audi. And Ash Lear, one of those Torque Inc guys, they do like to jump straight into races. Not huge on practice, those guys, but they're always there or thereabouts on pace. So it'll be interesting to see what Lear can do. Currently focused on Craig Edwards, currently running in 8th position for Fusion Sim Racing. Started 11th. He's had a pretty good run through these first few laps and pressuring Dan King.
Oh, sorry, we've got someone off. Daniel Cheney's just gone off.
Oh.
And he's whacked into the tyre wall there. Same place as Peasnick.
Oh, goodness me. So, once again, going to a CPR Kart Parts replay of that. So easy to do at Oulton Park. You need to stay as far right as you possibly, far left, sorry, as you possibly can to avoid getting into the grass there. But that looks like a very weird incident from Cheney. It just looks like he carried way too much speed into the corner and there was no avoiding the tyre wall.
No, there he was under attack from Ott and Warren as well, and it just looks like you said, he just tried to keep it planned, and then when it didn't work, he got on the brakes too late there, and luckily he didn't go flying through again like what Peacenik did. And now we're having a look at Dane Warren as well as we go back live, who's right on the back of Corey Ott here. Now Warren, you got to remember, he was involved in that first lap incident, so he has gone right down in the pack and lost 13 positions on his starting position. Ott has actually let him by there, or may have had a slowdown, but that could have been a nice spicy battle there, but unfortunately we won't get to see it as Warren goes through and will take that position and continue his charge back up the front of the field.
Yeah, I guess you could... Oh, sorry, David. I was going to say, you could say that there's a bit of mutual respect between Ott and Warren. They are former teammates. Apologies, David.
Now, I was going to say that these two guys are running the highest up of everyone who's been through the pit lane already. So they might have either a shorter stop or, if they're very lucky, eliminate a stop later. That's sort of the alternate strategy, is these guys, Dane Warren, Corey Ott, and Richard Hunter here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Just going back to that battle up ahead for 7th place, Dan King versus Craig Edwards. They are mighty close right now. Edwards actually flashed his lights beforehand. He's flashing his lights once again at Dan King. So, letting him know that he means business.
Yeah, that's for sure, and that's a tactic we talk about all the time. Racing is as much physical as it is mental with these drivers. So when they're muscling their steering wheels around in their studies or their cockpits, wherever they are, they're also focusing a lot on the concentration of getting around. And one flick of the lights is all it takes for someone to miss their braking zone, and you can get past them. So Edwards is playing a bit of a cheeky game there, but one that has worked before on some drivers. So he's still not quite close enough to attack, and I think he's just trying to get that edge on King so he can try and attack somewhere, as Edwards look a little tighter through that corner, looking a little more comfortable, but he goes massively wide there as well. Probably picked up an off-track there, make himself a bit more susceptible to Mauricio and Lastres behind.
Yes, indeed. Oh, and Dan King just got into the grass. Whoa, hang on a minute, Lastres. Yeah, big slide. Just lost the rear, I think, on the grass. Oh, he manages to stay off the circuit, though. I think that is the best we've seen anyone come out of an incident at that particular turn, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And good on Lastres there for A, trying to save the car, and B, hitting the brakes and not rolling back onto the circuit and interfering with anyone else's race. That was very well done from him, and a good show of the skill that he has under his belt in this car.
Yes, indeed. How to make a mistake properly, I guess you could say, David.
Yeah, indeed. That's obviously a corner that these guys are finding really tricky in this GT3 machinery. And it sort of lulls you in because you feel like you should be able to take it flat out, but these guys have either got to lift or get on the brakes a little bit going through that left-hand kink before the right-hand hairpin. And quite a few of these guys not getting it right.
Yes, indeed.
So we're just going to focus on P12 now, which is the battle for P12, I should say, with Ben Snell, who's actually just gone into the pit lane. So we'll focus on Ian Bevan and Dane Warren. So Ian is fighting this hard as they make a tiny bit of contact by the looks of it, and Dane will just throw it down the inside of turn 1 there. He's going to make that pass work. And Warren is on an absolute charge at the moment, trying to get back up the pointy end of the field. Yeah,
he certainly is. He's got big pace in that BMW. Oulton Park, a good circuit for the BMW with all of these medium and low speed corners. Not much of a reliance on straight line speed, so Dane doing very well there as, oh goodness me, see in the background Ian Bevan almost going off track at that turn. Yet another driver almost falling victim to that particular corner. Update up the front, meanwhile, Luis Paulo Gallon, the charge that he has had in the lead the last few laps has been insane. Lap 6 to lap 9, he's been hovering around low 26s, high 25s, and he just keeps stamping out those laps. And Anthony Winkleman, it seems, doesn't have much of a response to that at the moment.
Yeah, well, looking at the times here, Winkleman his fastest lap is 0.3 slower than the likes of Gallon. And his last lap was about 0.3 slower as well. So he's just bleeding time to Gallon at the moment. And I mean, Rizzo has dropped even further back behind Winkleman. So it was smart to let Winkleman through. But right now, Gallon is on another planet in terms of pace. He is just banging out these awesome lap times that no one else can seem to match.
That's That's exactly right. As we look at position number 14, that's Richard Hunter chasing down Corey Ott. And this is quite the interesting battle pack right now. You see just up ahead there, that's Ian Bevan, who got all crossed up behind Dane Warren on the last lap. And Hunter himself is being pursued by McLeod. Proper four-car battle here as they go into that beautiful banked hairpin. Love that one. You can go through it much faster than you initially think. And they're passing by what would be the Hislop chicane, but they are not running that chicane on this layout, so more opportunity for outbraking here at Knickerbrook. As we go on board with Mitchell McLeod to see these three Mercedes in front of him. And this big rise is fantastic to watch cars go through, and this double apex right-hander, very, very hard to get the line right through there and be able to stay on the track. You can see there's a big trail of gravel where drivers have gone off at that particular turn. So McLeod currently got his work cut out for him, currently running in position 15th. And started in 14th, so he's got a bit more work to do, but we've got to remember there's quite a few drivers in the field who have yet to take their pit stop for this race.
Yeah, that's exactly it. With just under 25 minutes left to go here and about 18 laps left, there's still plenty of time for these guys to pit. I think we do have a few people coming in now and taking pit stops, so around about now is that pit window opening, and then we'll just see who goes in and takes it and who doesn't. Hayden Dodman does look to have a little bit of damage on his... Sorry, Mitchell McLeod, pardon me. Does have a little bit of damage on his car that may result in steering damage or otherwise just general straight line aero damage that's probably not helping him, particularly against the big V8 engines of those Mercedes GT3 cars.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Audi may have two more cylinders, but the Mercedes definitely has more grunt as it stands. Ian Bevan is very monstered at the moment by Corey Ott, and Richard Hunter under major pressure from McLeod now, so these guys have started to split off into their own pairs. Whoa! Hang on a minute, McLeod, big incident there. That was a large slide. He just caught the grass on the exit, on the entry, sorry, to that double right-hander. Easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And just a quick bit of information from our man Cam Dancy has just let us know that John Peasnick has left the server, and the way things are going, Luis Paulo Gallen will take the lead of the championship if he wins this race.
Oh, goodness me. Peasnick, how would you be if you were in his position? Peasnick, all through this championship, has shown that he has the pace to win races, the pace to win championships, as we look once again at Dane Warren. But, you know, a lot of bad luck has befallen him. A lot of mistakes of his own doing as well. So it's a real shame to see that happen.
Oh, contact!
Oh!
And Warren's in the wall there. Whack the tyre wall.
Oh, man, that is not good at all. Oh, behind him, a big crash. That
Ian Bevan is on his roof, and Corey Ott has slammed into the wall. I think they've just been caught out by Dane Warren rejoining. So that's even more calamity back there for those guys.
Oh, yeah, certainly is.
And Bevan, it looks like, just having a look at it here, he's gone to go evasive around Warren, who was trying to get out of the way there, and he's hit Corey Ott. Ott has tipped him around to the wall, and then Ott's gone with him, starting riding that wall, and Bevan's on his roof. That's real unfortunate there. Warren just had a bit of contact with McKnight, got out of it, tried to do the right thing there after that contact, and yeah, just couldn't get out of the way quick enough of those Mercedes coming down the road.
God, that is the absolute worst thing you could have happen, and it's exacerbated by the narrowness of the track in that particular area. There's barely enough space to fit three cars side by side. So, yeah, big shame for all those guys. Ian Bevan is still moving. He's just coming into the pits now to take repairs, presumably, but that was all triggered by that incident between Jamie McKnight and Dane Warren, and I don't know if who to assign blame to, or if blame should even be assigned, because Warren was definitely trying to make the move, but McKnight probably felt that Warren wasn't alongside enough to warrant giving him room.
Yeah, look, definitely netcode contact there as well. There's about a ruler's worth of space between the two of them, but equally, yeah, it's sort of, it gives the question of racing room and how much is enough. And in that case there, I think you could just call that a racing incident of a spotter not yelling out where a driver is or something like that and letting them know where they are. So, yeah, an unfortunate incident there, but McKnight got out of it pretty scot-free. It's just unfortunate it's led to a couple of cars now who are performing quite well going down the grid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, the race continues on. Luis Paulo Gallon, when last at the line, 2.7 seconds ahead of Anthony Winkelmann. So the top four right now, very much spread out. Top five, I should probably say. We cannot forget about Trent Thomas, who is continuing to run in 5th place. Currently, Dan King and Craig Edwards still embroiled in their fight just behind Ashley Lear. Lear, I don't know whether to say he has fallen back into the clutches of these guys as Dane Warren has been black flagged by race control. Evidently, he was deemed to be at blame for that incident.
Yeah, so race control's got to make a decision, and I do have to give credit to the guys in race control. They do make very swift decisions here and make sure that the punishments are handed out. So that's there's no dilly-dally after the race.
That's exactly right. As we are looking at Mr. Gallon making his way through turn 1. 2.8 seconds now, the gap. So he is untouchable right now, and you can see, like, he is just inch perfect with that car right now. He's really got that sorted out as we go on board with him.
Yeah, he's continuing to just stream ahead here. And David, I'll throw it to you to have a chat about Luis Paulo and how he's faring, mate.
Yeah, well, you said untouchable there, Reese, and you know he's got a lead and he's held on to it, but he's stopped pulling time out of Anthony Winkelmann, and 2 laps back, Winkelmann got 1/10 or so back. If Anthony Winkelmann's been, you know, thinking about fuel consumption or working on the strategy or just looking after his tyres, it's really not a huge gap at 2.8 seconds. Anthony Winkelmann could still pull something back, and I have to say that Ross Rizzo letting Winkelmann through, since then, Ross Rizzo really looks like he's also been thinking about fuel consumption, which is, of course, what we know the Trick Sim Sports guys really love to do.
Yeah, that is 100% correct, and yeah, I get, because like, you take a look at Gallon's lap times, right? You don't see too much of a change in terms of his pace. He's setting, you know, 26.1s, 26.2s, so not too far from what he was doing at the start of the race. Winkelmann, on the other hand, suddenly pulled out, pulled in a couple of tenths on Mr. Gallon as he sets a 26.7. So I think that particular run of fast laps, he may have made a mistake on that one. I'm not quite sure, but we do know that Trick Sim Sports is a team that pride themselves on their meticulous strategy work. So who knows? We might see something happen before the pit stop stages. We take a look at 7th and 8th. This is Dan King and Craig Edwards once again.
Yeah, so these guys can't seem to get separated in this race. So, yeah, Dan King is coming up on the back of Ashley Lear here, and then Edwards is coming right back into this battle as well. So, these gents here are yet to pit, but obviously, provided fuel numbers are relatively similar, are going to have a fairly equal pit cycle and probably come out battling each other yet again. So, we'll have a look here as Dan King comes streaming over the hill and is going to go try and chase down Ashley Lear. He has a little looky there. Again, that's that mental game that they're playing. And they'll come through the chicane here. No moves are going to go on through here, but this is where he gets to set up in the 3rd sector and try and make this move work on Ashley Lear as they come out and onto the main straight at the end of the sector.
Yes, indeed. So, oh goodness me, you see the exit. It looks like Lear definitely hooked up the exit of the chicane, but seems everywhere else King just has a little bit extra on him. Have a look at the run he got out of the double right-hander. Lear was just not able to hook up the line through there, so coming around the end of lap 17, Edwards actually peeling into the pits behind them. So he's the first to blink out of this pack, possibly hoping for an undercut here.
Yeah, very possibly. It is hard to race in the dirty air of other cars, even when you're, 8, 9, 10ths a second behind there. So he may be looking just to get out some clean track and put in a good out lap or two. Hopefully pip these guys and keep moving up the grid there. He was running in 8th place, which was about +3 up on where he started the race. But now, obviously looking for more positions there as he is in pit lane.
Yep, exactly right. And he is out right away. Very slow pit lane speed here at Oulton Park. At most iRacing tracks, it's 60 or 80 kilometers an hour. At Oulton Park, it's 50. So got to be careful when you jump into the pits that you're not caught out by that, thinking that the pit speed limit is 10 kilometers an hour higher than it actually is. So we'll see how Craig Edwards does out of that. Ashley Lear getting past Ian Bevan, meanwhile, who is not having a good race after his little incident. Although I guess you couldn't really say that it's little by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it was a rather spectacular incident. I think that's a good word to use for it, riding up on the wall like that. But good on him for just jumping out of the way of that battle there and letting these guys continue to go on. And we've got Ashley Lear in the pit lane now, so Dan King will be set free. And this will be interesting to see who comes out first. And this might actually be Lear trying to cut off that undercut from Edwards that's gone in the lap before him and try to equalise that a little bit. So Lear's been performing really well in this race. He was actually up about 8 positions on where he started, so probably hoping to maintain that, if not go faster.
Yes, indeed, but Craig Edwards is coming down the start-finish straight now into turn 1, and he is through. So Craig Edwards got a really good jump there.
Yeah, he's done really well.
Both of them had a stationary time of about 8 seconds. So really, Craig Edwards has just maybe been more aggressive on attacking the start of the pit lane limit, or just had a really good in-lap and out-lap, because their stopped times in the box weren't that different at all.
Update on retirements. Dane Warren and Mitchell McLeod have both left the server. 2 guys obviously very frustrated with how their nights have gone. So they join John Peacenik on the retirees list, as well as Adam Hyland. Big shame about him starting from 10th.
Yeah, so I guess this track is biting a lot of drivers harder than what we usually see. So right now we actually only have 16 drivers on the lead lap, which is quite small compared to what we usually see in this series. So those pretty much, this race is a race of survival for some of the drivers out here in terms of getting a good result, picking up some good points.
That's correct. As we take a look at Gene Fiddies of Progression Racing Australia, he just lifts off to let Mauricio Lastres go. And Lastres on a bit of a comeback drive himself. Of course, had his incident at the opening of a past lap, and Fiddies running very well in the top 10 right now, but yet to take his pit stop. So obviously recognizing Lastres' pace and just letting him go.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like you said, Lastres had his incident, is really just trying to drive through the field at the moment and pick up those spots where he can. So Fiddies hasn't got the pace to match him. As you can see, Lastres is down the road there, but got to give a shout out to Gene Fiddies here. He's +15 at the moment and looks to have taken a pit stop as well. Not sure if that was for damage or not, but he did have a 5.5 second stationary time, so we'll see whether he comes in again, but right now running very strongly in that top 6.
Exactly right. Trent Thomas, I believe, has also pitted. He's recently just come back out onto the racetrack ahead of Craig Edwards. So those 2 teammates back together on track. But Gallon, Winkleman, Rizzo and Silvassi still yet to come in.
And we've just got Daniel Cheney in the wall again, up near where he had that happen last time, as Luis Paulo Gallon flashes by him with that bright livery. So, not Cheney's night, and we've just had Fiddies. Nope, sorry, it looked like Fiddies had come in, but my timing's having a bit of a brain moment here, but that's all right. So Gallon has got now 4.6 seconds to Anthony Winkleman, and well, his lap times are still going very, very consistently. He's only doing 126.3s now, and his fastest is a 125.9. So that drop off of the tyres is quite minimal at the moment. As we now are going to go back to Richard Hunter, who's actually embroiled in a nice little battle here with James Hanna in that Ferrari, and they're battling it out quite hard here as James hasn't actually pitted yet, and Richard looks to have just come out of the pits, and Hanna is pulling off to the left-hand side of the circuit here. They're going to see if they'll go side by side, and Hunter's going to collect him around the outside there and get that position done.
Yes, indeed. Hanna on a bit of a recovery drive himself. Remember, he was one of the drivers that had their incident at the sweeping left-hander. So Hanna obviously looking to stay out of trouble for the remainder of this one. Hayden Dodman rejoining the retirees list of this race. So quite a few very fast guys exiting this race, which is not very good to see.
Martin Silvassi is on the lane, makes him the first of the Trick Sim Sport guys to pit, and he takes a 9.3 second stop. I imagine that means we're going to start seeing almost everyone else in the pits now with 10 minutes to go.
Yes, indeed. I think Martin Silvassi being the lowest placed Trick Sim Sports car, maybe he's the strategy guinea pig for these guys. They're just going to see how he goes, and then they decide what Anthony Winkleman and Ross Rizzo are going to do for the remainder of the race, because Silvassi, we saw he wasn't under much pressure from behind, so obviously he could afford to take that gamble.
Yeah, that's it. So up the front of the race, we have had like a fairly boring race, if you will, because the gaps have been so massive. So hopefully after these pit stops, we see some differences in fuel numbers, and it might tighten things up a bit, as Luis Gallo-Palin has actually just fired into the pit lane there at high speed. And there we go. We do have Winkleman following him in there. So we'll see what their fuel dumps are going to be in the end here. Both of them will look like they were right on the limit coming into the lane there. As now we've got Luis Paulo Gallon stopped. Winkleman stopped in the pit lane. Rizzo has followed them in as well. So this will nearly just about cleanse the field. Gallon is gone. He's at the edge of pit lane and he's out of there. So now we've got Winkleman, who will come out of the pit lane in just a moment here, and we'll get an indicative time to see who's where. Looks like that gap is going to be just about the same, only 0.2 different in their pit stop there. So really not enough to claw that lead back, and I'm imagining Gallon will just keep pulling ahead.
That's it. Martin Silvassi making his way through turn one now. And there we go. That's that done. Those guys cleansed so far. Dan King coming out of the pits as well. Level with Ashley Lear, as a matter of fact. So these guys really getting into it now, right out of the pits here for Dan King. Let's see what they can do. He's doing the over-under on Lear. This would be a courageous place to make a move. He is drawing ahead. Lear must yield here. He will. And that's Dan King through. So, goodness me, there is no escaping a bit of a race here.
Yeah, that's for sure, and it's good to see those guys. They gave each other the respect that's needed to get through that section of the track cleanly, and now Dan King will try and push on ahead. He's now in 7th place after that pit stop, and our whole field is cleansed.
That's exactly right. So, currently got 7 minutes remaining in this race. Once again, this 45 minutes has absolutely flown by. Seems like only a few minutes ago we were talking about Peasnick's horrendous luck. But Gallon well in the lead right now, and the rest of the lead pack coming up on Daniel Cheney. I can see Winkleman coming up on him now. So Cheney's just going to draw over to the left-hand side of the circuit. He has not had a fun race, has Mr. Cheney. Neither has this guy behind him, Ian Bevan. Obviously, Oulton Park biting very hard, as you said just before, Brock. Have a look at how hard Bevan pushes into that hairpin. Jenny's going to let him go as well, as we are now on board the Milo machine.
Yeah, it's a nice looking machine, that one, but we're going to come firing down into the second half of this circuit now. And like I said, Bevan was in a good place at the beginning of this race, and it's good to see that he's still pushing on with this and trying to make something out of it. He's actually where he started in the race, so he still hasn't fallen back just because of the amount of retirements, but it's good to see he's still out there and getting those laps in.
100%. So, looking through the field, actually, Richard Hunter and Gene Fitties, as well as Alex John and Ben Snell, very good runs. James Hanna, sticking to his guns despite his earlier incident. He's made his way up into 13th right now from 27th. Very good run from him, as well as Damon Stockton.
Yeah, David, I'll let you take this one, mate.
Yeah, so we've got a few battles going on, really, and I think that what we've got going on is Damon Stockton's up 9, James Hanna's up 10. I think Cameron Stubber and Jamie McKnight were looking very close for a battle as well.
Yeah,
it's good
exactly.
to see. Yeah, it's good to see we've still got some nice battles going on here throughout the field, even though we've had a few crashes. The Stockton's actually just gone through the chicane there in front of McKnight and Stubber. So, yeah, having a look through the field here, it's actually relatively spaced out. We do have Dan King hasn't got too far away from Ashley Lear. We're going to have a look at the leader now in Louise Paulo Gallen with under 5 minutes to go here. What a race. That's all we can say. 4.5 seconds back to Anthony Winkleman. Winkleman has turned up the pace, but I think in this case it's going to be a little bit of too little, too late sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what you can gather from this, Gallon's also had pretty major success at Laguna Seca, Watkins Glen as well. 2 tracks that really reward, they're very much drivers' circuits. They reward drivers that push with all their might, and seems to really suit him, tracks like this.
I think any track suits Louise Paulo Gallen. he has shown massive pace, and we're just going to flash to McKnight now, who's actually right on the back of Damon Stockton, coming into the into the closing stage of this race here. So Stockton in that Ben Max DPR BMW. McKnight is going to try and round him up on the left-hand side of the track here. Stockton taking a defensive line. Nope, just going to let McKnight pass there. So McKnight is now going to slip into 14th position, 4 up on where he started.
Yeah. Sorry, David, go on.
Damon Stockton, I don't know what was going on there, but his car's just looking very slow. As you said, he skipped the chicane earlier, and he just looks to be missing an incredible amount in a straight line, either fuel saving or picked up some very weird aero damage, because now McKnight is well and truly away, and I'm sure Cameron Stubble will very soon be on the back of Damon Stockton at this pace.
Yeah, you're right there, David. It looks to me like Stockton, he's just having general issues with his car. Big slide, actually overshooting the last corner, I think, a bit. So, real loss in momentum down the straights, and Stubber's now right on the back of him here.
Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting little fight here. Like you said, Stockton's car just isn't looking good. And like something's gone wrong. It looks pretty clean, but maybe having some hardware issues, not getting full throttle or something like that. And now we're just both letting the leaders through here, so letting Gallon come on through, not interrupting his race, and now they'll continue their battle. Stockton will keep 15th for now, but Stubber's definitely looking racy and also was looking to try and get around Stockton while they were slowed down there and try and get a cheeky overtake done. So we've got, what'll be 1.5 laps to go now as Gallon has just passed this little battle pack we've got going on here. So Stubber's, I think that slowing down for Gallon has actually hurt Stubber a bit there, but he's reeling Stockton in on the straight here. So I'm not sure what the issue is here. It must be hardware. Stubber thought about a move down the inside there, not smart at the chicane here, but we'll keep it out there, so Stockton will remain in front for now, but his straight line speed just looks like it's not existent.
Pedal issues, maybe. Perhaps his throttle is not going the full extent.
And he might just get away with that around some parts of the track, like the more technical bits here. But there's that longest straight out of the hairpin and towards Knickerbrook. That's where it's hurt him massively. That's where Jamie McKnight got through, and he looks to lose maybe half a second a lap just on that straight alone. He was 3 seconds down on Cameron Stubber the previous lap.
Wow, that's going to ride on board with him for a second.
And he's defending pretty hard as well from Stubber, as we've got, the leaders trying to go around the outside there. Winkleman has rounded both of them up there, and Stockton's run off the road. This is getting a bit silly.
Major short shifting from Stockton. He must have massively underfueled at the stop.
Well, he's got a 4.8 second stop compared to what's been roughly around 8 to 9 seconds, or 7.5 to 9 seconds from other drivers. So he must be just trying to make it to the end of this race at the moment, but Stubber just can't quite get past him.
Yes, confirm that.
that's it.
Stockton pitted under the first safety car. He's clearly trying to make it to the end on just brimming the tank then, but it's costing him big time now, isn't it? This is Scops 1000 all over again kind of stuff.
Yeah, certainly, but it seems like Stockton's actually, maybe he was just driving to, whoa! Careful, well, that is going to be Stubber by, but I did notice on those last couple of straights, Stockton was using the full rev range, and he continues to do so. So perhaps he was just driving to a number, and we caught him just as he realised he could make it to the end. The timer is now at 0. And Gallon actually going through the last corner. He is going to take a dominant win here in the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia. A fantastic drive, not troubled at all the whole race. Brilliant victory for Gallon, and he's going to take the championship lead tonight. Anthony Winkleman coming across the line in second, and Rizzo is going to come by for third. Well, honestly, I don't think that race couldn't have gone better for the top three.
Yeah, well, it was relatively uninterrupted for them. Once that safety car went back into the pit lane, it was just drive. They didn't have any battles or anything like that in the end. Yeah, Winkleman and Rizzo, their pace just wasn't matching Gallon. Gallon was on another planet pace-wise, and you could see that with the gap they ended on, 4.8 seconds. Excuse me, it wouldn't surprise me if Gallon was just managing that gap and not even pushing as hard as he could, because he just needed to make it to the end of this race, and now he has just gotten 400 points on top of Piesnik. Piesnik is going to record a 0 result for that. So we'll flick to the results screen now. So first place is Mr. Luis Paulo Gallon with that dominating race there for 45 minutes. Second is Anthony Winkleman. Third, Ross Rizzo. And fourth, Martin Silvassi, completing that trio of Trick Sim Sports cars. Fifth is Trent Thomas. Sixth, Craig Edwards. Seventh, Dan King. Eighth is Ashley Lear. Ninth, Richard Hunter. And 10th is the Gene Fiddies.
Alex John is going to take 11th from 19th. Ben Snell in 12th. Good run from him. Jamie McKnight making his way up to 13th, with James Hanna 27th to 14th. Another good run, and the last car to finish on the lead lap. Cameron Stubber and Damon Stockton 15th and 16th. Mauricio Lastres, dramas for him, resulting in a 17th place finish from a start within the top 10. Ian Bevan, more dramas for him as well. Daniel Cheney and Hayden Dodman, your first retirement, rounding out the top 20.
And then we'll go into the rest of our retirements here tonight. Dane Warren, Mitchell McLeod, Corey Ott, John Piesnik, and Adam Hyland, John Schultz, Hekon Grebstadt, and Dylan Shepherd was our race control here tonight. So that rounds out our field for round 7 of the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia here, Reece.
Yep, it certainly does. And tell you what, this, we've said it a couple of times already, but major championship implications for this round. Luis Paulo Gallon is going to assume the championship lead, and John Piesnik, well, in these last couple of rounds, he is going to have the mother of all jobs to do in the last 3 rounds of the series. That's right, we only have 3 rounds left. Okayama, Phillip Island for a split sprint, and Mount Panorama in November for an endurance round of the series, and that is going to be the championship. So what can John Piesnik do in that amount of time? It will be very interesting to see. For the time being, though, we're going to come in for driver interviews. Our race winner is not here yet, so we'll go to P2 and P3. Anthony Winkleman and Ross Rizzo from Trick Sim Sports. We'll start with Anthony Winkleman first. Anthony, some dramas to start off that race, but it was pretty plain sailing for most of the way.
Yeah, it was definitely not what I expected from the start, that's for sure. We had a huge, little BMW in front of me was just completely missed the start, and I had to jump on the picks, and yeah, I think we were going 3 wide into turn 1, which is never good on lap 1, but yeah, look, once the kerfuffle happened on lap 1, and it was just see if I could stick with Louise, but he drove a flawless race.
He certainly did, but Looking back to you and Ross, noticed that you guys traded positions. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, we I guess in hindsight, I probably had a bit of an edge on Ross's pace at that point, and Ross did get the advantage from the start. So to try and stick with Louise, it was sort of see if I could slip in behind him and stay in the draft, but and bring us all together. But yeah, he was just too good on the day.
Ross, definitely a good finish for you in position 3. And I suppose with Peasnick having his dramas, it definitely helps your championship as well.
Yeah, it certainly does, but it's definitely not the way you want to see it, because I kind of feel like this is to be fought out between Louis and John. And I think today we're kind of robbed of a really good fight. And I think last week as well, that was shaping up to be a fantastic duel between the two of them. So yeah, I'm hoping that for the sake of a tight championship, that John's able to sort out the gremlins that seem to be plaguing his run at the title.
Yeah, that's it. Well, before we let you guys go, I guess we'll keep it with you, Rizzo. Who would you like to thank? Who gets it done for you?
Trick Sim Sports, Trick Fabrications, Anthony Marty, and Forzone, and to Knight Rider Designs. And also a massive congratulations to Louis, who was just flawless today and last round, looking really, really good at the moment. So keep it up, mate. And of course to V8s Online and Geodesic Racing GT Leagues Australia.
Thank you very much, guys. That was Anthony Winkleman and Ross Rizzo from Trick Sim Sports P2 and P3 in this race. We'll throw to our race winner now, Luis Polo Gallon. Luis, you are the championship leader after that emphatic race win. How did it feel crossing the line?
Oh man, that's good to hear this phrase, the championship leader. Well, I've been, I'm happy. My pace has been good for the last couple races. I'm feeling strong and confident. So let's, just keep with that up.
Very good stuff. Obviously, it didn't seem like you were that troubled in the lead of that race. So, what was your thinking behind that? Is Oulton Park a favourite circuit of yours?
Um, it's a nice little track. It's very technical. I kind of do well in technical tracks. I was trying to manage the race from the front. My car feels really good, really grippy. The traction coming out of the hairpin was good as well. So yeah, my car was really balanced. So I tried to maintain the lead.
Well, maintain the lead you did and take victory you did. So, coming into these last 3 rounds, obviously, your former championship rival before this, John Peasnick, had a very bad race with a complete 0 score at this one. So, it's up to you and Ross Rizzo in the last few rounds of this championship to see what you can do. Try and get that title from Peasnick. But do you think a fire may have been lit under him after this?
Well, it's very unfortunate to John. I don't really know what happened to him, but it's up to me. I gotta concentrate on my races and try to score points. And yeah, it's up to me. Those guys, they have to do their races, and yeah, not much I can say honestly.
Of course, no problem at all. Well,
Yeah.
before we let you go, Louise, who gets it done for you? Who do you want to thank?
I would like to thank Paul Mansell. I forgot to thank him the last interview. I won the race. He made that up, the skin, the car skin that I've been racing, and he did a fantastic job. I really liked the skin. And Brad Watson, he is the new recruit for LP Racing. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to attend to this round, but yeah, it's very small team, so we try to take a fight with the big guns.
Certainly. Thank you very much for joining us, Louise. Hope to talk to you again next round at Okayama. Final driver interview of the night, Trent Thomas. Trent, it was a good race for you. You started 6th and you got a top 5 for your troubles.
Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, I was involved with that early accident with John and Dane. I think it was damaged the car. Lost a bit of pace from that. Had a good battle with Martin for a little while, and then just kept getting distracted with certain things. I was missing things off my screen. I'm trying to reach for my keyboard in the rift, trying to hit buttons, and unfortunately by then I'd lost too much time. And I just had no pace for the guys ahead. So well done to them guys.
An overall good result for Fusion Sim Racing. Craig Edwards joining you this time. You managed to get a double top 6 here, so obviously that's good for the team.
Yeah, really excited about that. Happy to get the top 5 for myself as well, consolidate some points in the championship. The guys at the front there just pulling away, unfortunately, but I'm hanging in there. My goal was a top 5 for the season, so hopefully I can hang in there. And I can say that Craig was pretty happy with his result too.
Excellent stuff from you guys. And talking about consolidating points, your 2 championship rivals, Dane Warren and John Peasnick, is definitely going to fall down in the standings after this race. So you definitely have a chance at 4th here.
Yeah, that's good news. I had a pretty bad round at Spa last round. I just sort of finished just to consolidate again, but I think I got a top 20 there, which is unfortunate for the way the drop rounds have worked. I've used 3 now out of the 2, so I can't really afford any more hiccups for the rest of the season.
Well, those last 3 rounds are going to be where it all counts. Before we let you go, Trent, who do you want to give a shout out to?
I'd like to shout out to Amazon Web Services, Eclipse Signage and Dripping Paint Graphics, and of course you guys putting on the broadcast, and Geodesic Racing for the sponsors for the series.
Trent Thomas there from Fusion Sim Racing, your 5th place finisher. Well, Brock, that was definitely a championship-changing round, to say the least.
Yeah, looking at the race, looking back on it then during the interviews, I was thinking to myself, it wasn't the most action-packed in terms of seeing some great battling between a lot of cars. Obviously, we had quite a few incidents, but like you said, it's championship-changing stuff, and the championship implications are massive. For those out there that like watching the V8 broadcast, they like that line. So I think that Peasnick has his work cut out for him if he wants to bring this championship home. And the issue now is if Gallon and Peasnick were 1 for 1, each scoring a 0 on a round up until now. Now Peasnick has 2 zeros to his name, and Gallon has just gotten a win. So Peasnick needs to be as strong as he can be coming into these last 3 rounds and really consolidate any results possible if he wants any chance of winning this. And we can't forget Ross Rizzo, who is in 3rd place in the championship, but also got a great result in this race and is just accruing points. So if either of these guys slip up, our reigning champ could be top of the championship in a couple of rounds' time. And that's what I love about this series, is how close it is. Means that one slip up and it all changes.
That's exactly right. David, next round we go to Okayama for another 45-minute round. Certainly a track that's similar to Oulton Park in terms of there being a lot of mid-speed turns, but it's a lot more technical and a lot smoother. So we should see some interesting racing there.
Yeah, especially that last sector at Okayama is massively technical, lots of tight corners, bit of elevation change. But the earlier bits of the